Hello. Just back from the yard. I understand now what people mean when they say they're cold through to their bones. It is actually in my bones. Yesterday I had to sleep with the heated blanket on. I was shivering at one point. Stanley's got the only warm seat in the house. I've actually lit the fire for him. I mean, honestly, in my next life, I want to be a 22-year-old cat. So, where are we at today? Well, Jonathan Brash. Now, I used to say Brash by name, Brash by nature. And I think Jonathan blocked me for saying that on his social media. Now, this, I always said at the time, this will come back to haunt him. Oh, my goodness me. It's like literally the entire paranormal society have got together and we are now haunting Jonathan Brash. So what's happened? Well, Jonathan Brash is somebody I've never liked. Not because of their politics, not for any reason other than I think he's extraordinarily rude, patronising, condescending, all of the not good psychological profile makeups. I feel like he abuses his power. Now, this all came to light when who used to go to an independent school and teach at an independent school, fully supported VAT on education and showed such a lack of empathy for families who were disrupting their own lives, their children's lives, and other children in the state sector's lives by this tax on education. And when they would talk about that, really heartfelt stories about what this meant, Jonathan Brash was very, very dismissive. And his tone and his very nature was rude, aggressive and bullying. And I said at the time, he's just a bully. He's an absolute bully. Well, Jonathan is in the Durham and Something paper. If you Google it, Jonathan Brash social media, you'll find it for being bullying and abusive and his use of the word coward. Now, in 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got 4 examples here of how he's used the word coward towards other people who have dared cross him. So, you're a boring liar, jog on. A coward complaining about hurty words from the Prime Minister, a pathetic spectacle. That's what he said about Nigel Farage. In response to Rishi Sunak shelving plans for a general election, he said, coward, in inverted commas. Surprise, surprise, the Mayor Councillor SAB has refused a meeting to discuss his lies to the people of Hartlepool. Hashtag coward. In response to somebody else, the little coward blocked me ages ago, LOL. He's now championing banning school holiday rip-offs, which is the companies putting more and more, making school holidays more expensive and ending school fines. Now, that's not going to go down well because Bridget Phillipson is really championing fining parents who take their children out of school because she's right on the bandwagon of attendance. And Jonathan Brash within the Labour Party is fighting against that. So let's see how that goes. But sticking on focus of his overuse of the word coward and the way he interacts with people on social media. Now, in this press article, it says it often happens late at night. And he's very, very abrasive. Now, abrasive is okay if you can take it and if you're not in a position of authority and working for people. I think Jonathan Brash has forgotten that he's working for people. People have voted him in to work for them. So what happens? Why does a person use the word coward so much? Jonathan, if you're watching this, you might be quite interested in this. So a person uses the word coward effectively as a shutdown. It's a bullying tactic. It's control. So what they want to do is control the other person by shutting them down. Now, it's a complete lack of emotional intelligence. They are unable to engage in any productive conversation, so they will use the word coward and shut it down. It's the desire to feel superior. If you Google this, you'll find all of this. It's a desire to feel powerful, but it's an inability to engage or see two sides. So other things that when you Google coward need to project their own insecurities on others. It's a defense mechanism. So is Jonathan Brash so insecure about himself that he needs to put that onto other people with his overuse of the word coward? Well, if you look through his social media exchanges, absolutely he is. It's judgmental name calling. Now, it doesn't have to be just the word coward, but somebody that will refer to somebody in such a way, will use a word in such a way that is designed to hurt and belittle and patronise. It's designed by the user to make them feel more powerful and make them feel more superior. And it arguably is because they don't feel powerful and they don't feel superior, but they need to feel powerful and superior. So it's somebody who needs to have a power imbalance. It's important for Jonathan Brash to feel like he's the top dog, when actually, really, all of this is doing is exposing the fact that his inner self is feeling very much like he's not worthy, like he's not playing on the right playing field. He feels like an outsider. So to make himself feel like an insider, to get the power, to get that superiority, he resorts to belittling other people. It is his defense mechanism. And it stems from a lack of emotional intelligence, a lack of understanding what's going on in his own mind, a lack of understanding of why he feels like this. And you've heard me talk about this before, about your organismic self and your self-concept. So your organismic self is your birth self, what you were born as, who you really, really are. And your self-concept is what you want other people to see, what you believe other people should see. And that's based on your values, your conditions of worth. So I've used this example before. If a child falls over and cries because they've hurt their knee, there's two scenarios. There's scenario one where the caregiver says to them, oh, don't cry, you're okay, come on, be brave now, rub it better, right, come on, let's go. And the child is learning that to suppress their feelings, to not cry, is getting them value from their caregiver. Their caregiver is showing them that it's important to them to not cry, to keep those feelings inside, to deny the feelings of hurt. Then scenario number two is where little person falls over and hurts their knee, and the caregiver says, oh, goodness me, that must have hurt. Yes, I bet that hurt. Ow. Oh, come on, let's have a cuddle. Oh, yes, I can see why you're crying. I would cry too. That's validating their feelings. That's validating their natural reactions. That's saying, it's okay. You can cry. It must have bloody hurt. I don't need to give you permission to cry. You can do what you need to do. So that's where your conditions of worth and your self-value come from. So if Jonathan Brash has grown up with his conditions of worth that he feels like to be valued, he must be the big bully, the superior one, the powerful one. But inside, he's the complete opposite, but he cannot get those two to join. So he's denying his own real feelings of inferiority, of not being powerful enough, of craving power but not being able to get it. And this is how it's displaying. I mean, it's simple, really. And it's not just Jonathan Brash that behaves like this. Let's not be under any illusion that this is just him in the singular. It's everywhere if you start looking for it. It's one of those things that once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. But you've got to want to see it. And as a human, as an individual, you've got to want to do something about it. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people find that this defense mechanism gets them through life. I mean, it might not get them many friends and it could end careers, etc., etc. But there'll be a defense mechanism to say, well, it was someone else's fault. Rachel Reeves. So if you start to look at this and why people do this, you start to get a real insight into Jonathan Brash. And it's indisputable what he's doing because it's all there for us all to see on social media, because the amount of times he says coward is, I mean, you lose count after a while. And it's because he's got such little self-belief in who he is. I mean, if you look at somebody that was independently educated and then became a teacher in an independent school and is now fighting to effectively have the independent sector shut down, what does that say to you? And that says so much to me. I mean, where do we start? But we're not here to psychoanalyse Jonathan Brash. He's not at the table, so that wouldn't be fair. But if you start to look at all of these actions in any politician, it's not just the Labour Party. It is lots of people full stop. But we're focusing on politicians at the minute because their actions, all of this makeup is being played out on us. And you've heard me say before, I think that there should be psychological screening for politicians before they become politicians, because it's actually very dangerous. So what Jonathan Brash is doing is living out his own feelings of inadequacy on the public, and he's bullying members of the public. I mean, he said you're too much of a coward to visit such an asset, is what he said to a member of, I can only assume was his constituency, when they complained about something in the constituency. And because they said they didn't, and they researched it and they gave evidence, and they said they didn't think that it was money well spent. And Jonathan Brash has said, you're too much of a coward to visit such an asset. He cannot accept that somebody else might not think it's an asset and have actual valid points as to why that is. Now, it's the phrase, we need to agree to disagree. And Jonathan Brash cannot do that. He has to be right. He has to assert his dominance. He has to assert his control. And it comes from a position of actually not feeling that at all. So what you see, the external of what you see about Jonathan Brash, the big bully boy, the powerful I am man, that is a million miles away from a person that is so disconnected to themselves and has such a screaming lack of emotional intelligence. But he's a member of the Labour Party and he is now standing in the back benches being given airtime. Now, Jonathan Brash blocked me a long, long time ago, so I must be a coward. But who's the coward? Because I keep coming back for more, obviously, but Jonathan just wanted to shut me down and then walk away. La, 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 I can't hear you. Throw away the key. It's childish, it's pathetic. It's what he's called, Nigel Farage, a pathetic spectacle. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a pathetic spectacle, but the behaviour is very childish. But you can see a million miles off that that's because he cannot open his mind to an alternative. And it's easier for him to shut us all away than actually hear the stories of families, in this case about VAT on education, to hear the stories of families with special educational needs children who are now no longer getting the education that they were getting and needed and thriving in. So he's supporting a policy that has taken that away from so many families. He's supporting a policy that hasn't made the Treasury the money it thought it was going to get and has flooded the state system. But Jonathan he's not man enough. He's not, I shouldn't say that, you see, because now I'm belittling him, but he doesn't have the humility to turn around and say, I think we might have got this wrong. He can't do that. He can't say, this hasn't worked. Now, I really struggle with that, with somebody in a position of power who just keeps on. I mean, it's the definition of arguing with insanity, isn't it? They just keep on carrying on this behaviour. And I'm really bothered that I've just said he's not man enough, because it's a phrase I hate and I don't know why I said that. I really don't know why I said that. I apologise for that, because that is a crap phrase and it shouldn't be used. Yeah, that's annoyed me. Sorry. I even apologise to you, Jonathan Brash. I should not have said that. That is not okay. I'm owning it. I don't know why I said it, but I shouldn't have said it. But what I will say is you are not capable of seeing the other side of the coin. And what he cannot do is, because we've got, on the VAT on education situation, some real life stories that are really happening. And the same with the farmers and inheritance tax. You know, farmers have completed suicide because of this. Yet we are belittling people with our language on social media in our position as an MP. Now, I'm not suggesting that Jonathan Brash has done that with the farmers, but what I am saying is, to put it in context, these are serious results of policies that Labour have introduced. So we know factually that there are farmers who have completed suicide, and we know factually that there are children and parents who have thought about it because of VAT on education and lots of other things. But that's serious. That's not something to ever be joked about. That's not something that we should ever be flippant about. What we should do is give that the gravitas it deserves. And I don't feel like we're getting that. And when Bridget Phillipson sneers in Prime Minister's questions, and when she talks about the posh private parents and the private parent lobbyist group, and broad shoulders and absorbing and just dismissing with her language people's feelings, people's realities, people's outcomes, and what people are living through, it is that lack of ability to emotionally connect with it. It's that own self of low self-esteem. It's that own insecurity in oneself. It's that own lack of self-belief that's coming out, and it's being played out on the British public. And I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think that's in any way okay. So Jonathan Brash has got himself into hot water by calling so many people cowards on social media. It's in local papers. It will be in national papers soon, I have no doubt, if he makes the cut for, it's Quiet Newsday or something. But you and I have to put up with this. You and I know that when we interact with MPs on all sides of the coin, we can be belittled, we can be ignored, we can be gaslit, and we are living every day a narrative from the government which is demeaning, degrading. It's trying to use power. It's trying to have a power imbalance. And a lot of their language is used specifically to shut things down. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Have a little Google about why does somebody use demeaning language to somebody else? I mean, you can Google any of the phrases. It's really interesting. And I'm not suggesting everybody needs to go and start psychoanalyzing everybody else. But it might flick a light switch. And as I say, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it might also help when you're in communication with people that do this to you, that do try and create a power imbalance, that do use their own defense mechanisms for how they're feeling to you. And, there's the phrase, isn't it, that the kids all use. I think that says more about you than it does about me. But it's so true. Jonathan Brash's use of the word coward says so much more about Jonathan Brash than it does about the person he's communicating with.